Hi there, this is Wendy with loveandstampin.com and excited you're here with me today. I'm going to admit right up front, we're using this beautiful So Much Love stamp set, but today is really more about story time than it is about creating. I am going to be creating. I wanted to show you also, I've got my Stampin' Blends here. And I've recently made labels for Stampin' Blends. There is a link below the video. There are two options. You can buy a digital download and print them yourself on label paper, or you can order them and I'll mail them to you. So if you would rather have me print them and mail them, then I can do that as well. Same price for each. So links are below the video if you're interested. Okay. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and then I'm going to be coloring in Poppy Parade and So Saffron. I'm using Old Olive only because I don't have Pear Pizzazz. They don't make Pear Pizzazz Stampin' Blends. And then we also have Pool Party markers, which I ended up not using actually, but I'm using Pool Party ink here to stamp all these little dots. So if you are not familiar, I do a color splash every Friday, and this is just a color combination that I post on my blog and YouTube channel and social media that is designed to give you inspiration for creating. The other thing that I'm going to be doing soon is providing a free digital download to all my email subscribers every month. This has not started yet. The first one will actually go out the last week of August. I'm not going to tell you yet what that digital download is, but it's really cool and it's monthly and you're not going to want to miss out on it. So if you want to get that download free in your email box, you're going to make sure to subscribe to my email list. The link for that is also below this video. You might hear some nails tip-tapping around and collar chinging and changing and making noise. It's because Miss Trudy is right here with me and she is now climbing on me while we're doing this. Okay, so I really just wanted to tell you more stories about my trip because my last video was kind of shorter, I should say, in comparison to my normal video lengths. So I wanted to get to tell you a few of my fun stories from our trip. So one of the things when I was a kid, I don't know if you guys ever road tripped. Hold on, I just gotta pick my dog up here and put her on the chair so she'll leave me alone. So when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot of money. We were not like well off by any means. However, I also feel like we never really wanted for anything. So I had a good childhood for the most part. I think everybody has some trauma from childhood, right? We all do. But in particular, I have some special memories of visiting family in Washington State. So my grandpa, who was kind of like a dad to me, basically. I mean, he really was. We would every couple years, we would road trip to Washington State to see my family that lived there. His sister, my grandpa's sister, lived there, her son, and her grandchildren, and her grandchildren were near the same age as me. So I was really close to them and really enjoyed spending time with them in the summer. And this was always in the summer during like summer break. So we would go on this road trip and it's about a 13.5-hour drive. Well, my grandpa, it was like the only thing he cared about was how quickly we could make it there so that he could walk through the door and be like, made it here in 13 hours, 25 minutes, and 15 seconds. I mean, like, it was so that way with him and my Uncle Dick, who was his brother-in-law. So when they would come to visit us in California, same thing. It was like they would announce to us how long it took them to get to us. And I don't know, it must just be like an old dude thing because they have some weird thing. So anyway, long story short, I hate road tripping because of this. Because it was like you couldn't pee if you needed to pee. You couldn't stop and enjoy anything. I have been from California to Washington State probably 15 times in my life on the road and could not tell you a single thing in between because we never were allowed to, like, we stopped like twice. And it was like packed lunch, make it quick, get out, eat, get back in, pee, and there was no like breaks. It was so crazy. But I do always remember as a kid, like once we got there, being so excited. So this is something that I realized on this last road trip I just took with my family. I realized that kids now don't have the problems that we had when we were kids. Really quick, I'm going to jump to the card. So I laid the dark poppy parade layer down first in the areas I wanted it to be the darkest, which are the areas where everything meets together. So anywhere where a petal is laying on top of another petal or petals are touching, it would be darker. Now I'm going in with the light poppy parade. Then I'm going to go in with the dark So Saffron, and then finally the light So Saffron. Okay, so the problem, so when we were kids, it was like, I can remember vividly, my cousin Sarah is who would come. My cousins Sarah and Christy were the people that I was interested in showing up. I loved my Aunt Nell and my Uncle Dick, but let's face it, I wanted the kids to hang out with. So I would get so excited that they were coming to visit. And it would be like, I can remember my grandparents saying like, okay, they're going to be here tonight, but you didn't know when. It was like, there's no way to know because they didn't have cell phones. There were no cell phones back then. So you just had to patiently wait. And I can remember every little sound I would hear. I'd be like, oh, maybe that's them. Maybe that's them. Or a car would drive up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, they're here. And you go outside and it's like an uncle or I don't know, a family member visiting. And it's like, oh, you? Ah! And so all day long you did that. And then it would be like 10 o'clock at night. And they would finally roll in. And it was like the happiest moment ever when you go outside and you just start screaming and shouting and like, yay, they're here, they're here. And it was the same when we went to Washington. Same on their end. Like we would be so excited to go. And then when we would get there, it was like, woohoo, party. So, anyway, I'm telling you all of that to tell you that when we went to Montana on our trip, the last stop we made before going to Sydney, where my cousin lives, is in Bozeman. So Bozeman's about a 6-hour drive from Sydney. And I did not tell her when we were leaving Bozeman. I just said, we'll be there when we get there. And she was not happy with me. She was like, are you seriously not going to tell me when you're coming? And I'm like, yep, I seriously am not. Because when we were kids, we had to wait and I want it to be like that. And she was not pleased with me. So we made her wait. And then when we finally got there at 3 o'clock, the kids came out, her children, which are my nieces. So backstory on that. I call them my nieces. Technically, they're my cousins. But my cousin Shannon is an only child. We were raised in the same household most of our lives. And so we've always just kind of considered each other sisters. And so when her kids when she was pregnant with her first, she said, I want my kids to call you auntie because they don't have an aunt on her side. So I am Aunt Wendy to them, or aunt. They call me Aunt Wendy. They don't say aunt. Must be a Montanan, Californian thing, right? So anyway, we got there and they came running out and we had so much fun. And we got there about 3 o'clock and she said, I knew you'd be here about 3 o'clock. That's what I guessed that it would be. And so I said, yep, I guess you were right, but I was not going to tell you. I wanted it to be a secret. there's so few surprises left in life, don't you think? Like, you gotta have surprises where you can have them these days. So anyway, we got there, it was super fun, and we had a great time while we were there. My nephew was also there, and he had to end up coming home with us because his plane, God, I can talk, I swear. His flight, that's the word I'm looking for, his flight got canceled. And so we ended up being one passenger more coming home because he had to have a way home to California. So he rode home with us, which was really fun. He knows more about trains than anybody I've ever met in my life. Like, he could tell you anything and everything there is to know about a train. So it was kind of cool because it was like we had our own personal tour guide. He told us all about the trains and the railways and stuff like that between Montana and here in California, which was really neat. We passed several trains. I learned all kinds of things, like trains, for example, they like can get going really, really fast, and then they can actually just run based on propulsion because there's like zero friction on a train track because it's steel on steel. I thought that was really interesting. I did not know that. And he also said that's why it takes them so long to slow down, because there's no friction. So I don't know, just random little facts. And he told us stuff, frankly, I'll never remember because it's not like my thing. It's his thing. But it was really cool to learn about it and hear about it while we were on our way home. It gave us something to hear and talk about. So here I decided I was going to put down a sentiment on a punch, but then I decided it covered up too much of the flower and I didn't like that. So I ended up deciding to just stamp directly on the card. I really love how the coloring came out. My color splash combo is actually Pear Pizzazz, and I had to use Old Olive here. As I said earlier, there's not an old Pear Pizzazz Stampin' Blends, so we had to go with Old Olive, but it worked out fine. So I'm stamping my sentiment in Poppy Parade, and then I'm just going to add a few little detail elements using a jelly roll pin. There's lots of different brands of these, so whatever you have that works. Frankly, it's a love-hate relationship for me. I love the way it looks when you use these jelly roll pins, or gel pins, whatever you want to call them, but they only work about half the time. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I am too dumb to know how to use them. I don't know. But for whatever reason, it seems like I only get results about half the time. Luckily, on this card, I did get results, and that made me really happy. So I'm just using my Tombow glue here to glue this down, and then I'll use that pen, and then I'll adhere this whole thing to a card base. So that Poppy Parade cardstock is cut at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and the Whisper White cardstock that I colored on is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so what else is happening? I already shared with you the blends thing. The other thing I wanted to just remind you about is that the new holiday catalog starts tomorrow. It's technically called the August through December mini catalog, but I don't know how I'm going to not call it the holiday catalog. It's a holiday catalog. That's what it is. So, it's full of amazing, cute stuff. If you need a catalog, let me know because I have a ton of extras and I'd be happy to send one out to you if you need one. If you already have a demonstrator and you already purchased from somebody else, please make sure you get it from them. But if you do need one, I am happy to oblige. And then I use the holiday rhinestones here to add the blue Pool Party colored rhinestones to kind of like go in with the little polka dots that I already stamped. I love these rhinestones. They call them holiday rhinestones, but I don't really know why. I feel like they could be used all year round. I don't know. I feel like there was a bad name. It's a bad naming convention for these. But I don't know what else you'd call them. Anyway, I love them. They're great. And I used them on this card. And then the last bit is to use the jelly pen and the Wink Stella. Okay, so what else is there to tell you about and update you on? I think that's everything. There's so much happening right now. Oh, starting tomorrow, you can get a free pack of all the trimmings embellishments from me when you place any order of $50 or more. So when I say starting tomorrow, I'm assuming you're watching this video on August 3rd. If you're watching the video on August 4th, or August 4th, but I should say August 4th through the 31st, $50 order, and I will mail you a free pack of all the trimmings embellishments. Just an FYI, they won't get shipped until September. So don't get nervous if you don't get them right away. Okay, so now I'm just adding my little elements here, and this card is pretty much finished. And it's just a fun thank you card. Beautiful colors. I love these colors together. And if you want to see the other color splash video I did, that it is linked over on my blog. And I think that's everything. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, guys, and I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. If you need any of these products, you can go to my online store at shoploveandstampin.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch you with another creative video soon.